Welcome to our joint webcast. My name is Dirk Heinen from Infineon Technologies AG. With me is Marco Blume from Wibu-Systems. We do a joint presentation of CodeMeter, a solution for embedded security for our XMC 4000 microcontrollers. Let's start first with a quick overview of the XMC microcontroller family. We have two different families, one ARM Cortex M0 based products, XMC 1100, 1200 and 1300, and the other family which are ARM Cortex M4 based products, where we have actually four different series, 4100 to 4500. So those products are in a performance range up to 120 megahertz. They are basically designed for industrial control applications, have a huge set of connectivity peripherals, including CAN, including real-time Ethernet functionality, and are basically designed for harsh environments in industrial automation with temperature robustness up to 125 degrees Celsius. Our target markets for XMC are actually 5 pillars. So you will find our XMC microcontrollers, and especially the XMC 4000 microcontrollers, predominantly in the area of factory automation, where we have high real-time requirements for the applications, where we have a lot of connectivity requirements within this industrial automation environment, where we have high quality and robustness requirements. Second target market is the market of building automation. Here, for example, LED lighting is one of the big applications in this market segment. We have transportation as a target market, so that's a lot about motor control, like in forklifts, for example. We have power and energy, which is basically high power switch mode power supplies controlled by our XMC microcontrollers. And we have the area of home and professional, which is kind of consumer-like applications. But here also specifically we are talking about motor control, for example, in power tools. So when you look across these target markets, you will find a lot of diverse security challenges of our customers, and let's say the security challenges they face, they vary broadly among these different market segments. So for example, you talk about this segment of home and professional, of power tools, for example. Security challenge could be how do you protect your products from cloning and reverse engineering when you use a contract manufacturer, for example. When you look more in the other direction, in the area of factory automation, security challenge might be how to make sure that devices added to a factory automation environment are really authorized devices, so that you don't plug in fake devices or not authorized devices. Further security challenges, and those are the ones which we will dig deeper into then with the course of the presentation, are, for example, how is it possible to do a firmware update of the microcontroller which is already installed in the field? So how do we do that in a secure way, in a protected way, because the IP of the firmware is something which is of value for us. How do we protect this from being cloned or spied out? That's one use case in this environment. Another one is maybe a question of how to come up with new business models. For example, is there a way to, in the field or aftermarket, make an upgrade of firmware which is installed on a microcontroller? So, for example, to enable additional functionality of the microcontroller. So those two are the ones which we want to focus now, talking about use cases and where we want to present the solution for. And now I'd like to hand over to Marco Blume to give us an overview of the microCodeMeter solution.
Together with Infineon, we have thought about how to fulfill these two needs. So Wibu-Systems has an established product line which is called CodeMeter, and it's in the market since 25 years. And coming from the personal computer market, we have during the last years put the CodeMeter technology into the embedded market, focusing on embedded devices, industrial PCs, down to PLCs, for example. And in this environment, the embedded driver for microcontrollers is still too big. So the next step will be that we shrink it again to fit the needs of the XMC microcontroller. And then we have the same technology running on personal computers, compatible to the microcontroller environment of Infineon. So the developer of a microcontroller or of an embedded system usually is not an expert in cryptography. So that's why I have created a dialog, a front end, where it's easy to set up all the cryptographic settings you need for encrypt your software, for signing, to grant integrity and to have a proper IP protection of your software. So this is the only dialog you need to do all the settings, and after pressing enter you will get an encrypted file of the software you developed before in Dave. So this is a plugin which you just install into your Dave installation, and then you are able to use our cryptographic modules. So let's have a look at the two use cases we had before. The use case one is you want to protect your IP. So very in the beginning, you have in your trusted environment, in your factory, your XMC 4000 microcontroller, and you produce it in your factory, in your environment, and program your firmware, in this case version 1.0, and a secure bootloader which contains all this cryptographic part needed for an update. And this all is programmed without any encryption or security mechanisms, because it's done in your own factory. And this product is delivered to the customer. So the customer can use it, and now a time later you produce an update of the software, a firmware version 2.0. And this is done again in the Dave development environment, and with a mask we have seen on the slides before, which controls the micro-AX protector, you create the new firmware version in an encrypted container. And this encrypted version of the firmware can be delivered in any way, like email, download, web link, whatever you want, and distributed to the customer. And after loading this encrypted firmware file in the XMC controller, it is decrypted internally. So the user, the technician, or whoever gets in contact with this firmware will never get the unencrypted firmware file. And that's the way how you protect your IP, which you have programmed into this firmware. And only the controller is able to decrypt it and use the new firmware file. The keys used for this decryption are already stored in this microCodeMeter ACT license, which has been programmed into the controller in the beginning during the first delivery. That's the use case for IP security or for IP protection. This is the second use case, which describes how to create an aftermarket business with function upgrades. So you have already delivered your controller, your hardware in the field, which runs a firmware, and inside the firmware there's a blocked function. For example, it's a motor controller, and the motor controller is able to drive the motor in right direction. And now you need the function to let the motor turn left. So the customer can buy this function upgrade, and then a license is created in a software part called License Central. This can be a standalone version on a PC. This can either be bound to a shopping system, to an ERP system, to SAP, whatever. And then you create a license which is bound to this dedicated motor controller in the field. And the License Central creates a microCodeMeter ACT license update. And this update, again, it's an encrypted file, can be delivered to the customer. He loads it in any way which is implemented in the controller, and then he has enabled the new functionality. And even this license upgrade is bound to this specific controller, to this specific chip ID, and then you enable a new functionality in the field without exchanging the firmware, without having the need of, for example, certification of the firmware file and so on. That's the easiest way to switch on or switch off functions in the field.
So to sum it up, what we presented, microCodeMeter. microCodeMeter enhances the standard toolchain to provide firmware updates or functional upgrades in embedded systems which are built around the XMC 4000 microcontrollers. microCodeMeter is based on something which is already market proven, which is the CodeMeter solution from Wibu, which is existing, let's say, for solutions on processor level control. microCodeMeter is an easy to use solution. It's a plug-in for toolchains, and it uses state-of-the-art cryptography established by the CodeMeter solution. microCodeMeter will be available early in Q4 of this year. It will be available from Wibu-Systems. If you want more info on the solution we presented, you can look it up on the below link, wibu.com/microCodeMeter. And with this, I'd like to close our webcast and would like to thank you for your attention.